Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS, a DFS strategy video for the 2021 Travelers Championship. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at the DFS preview video I put out last night, as we covered a ton of information. A lot of that information I'm not really going to be covering in this video. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly encourage you to pause the video right now, go take a look at that video, and come back once you're done. Actually, in fact, I'm going to link it top right hand corner, just to make it easier for you guys to go there. But yeah, watch that one, come back here, you'll have a better idea of the plays that I'm going to be on in this video. Purpose of these strategy videos is really to narrow down on a player pool, or at least narrow down on some anchor plays and build around those anchors. I primarily do that by looking at the sweet spot score. That sweet spot score goes into the Time Pairings, and from those Time Pairings, we'll find anchor plays. So we'll do all of that right in the beginning. And usually from there, what I would do would go to building lineups in the optimizer. This week, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take a little different approach. I'm going to show you how I'm going to determine ownership levels. I already imported like kind of a base layer, or I figured out a base layer of ownership for the golfers that are in the field this week. But with the bucket system, I'm going to fine tune those, and you'll get to see who my favorite plays are based off of those ownership percentages. And then from there, we'll just build maybe a handful of lineups, hand build them, or we'll take a look at the optimizer as well, because I did load that data into the optimizer. With all that being said, timestamps can be found in the description below. They can also be found on YouTube's progress bar. Just hover over the progress bar, you'll find timestamps that way. Let's go ahead and get into this thing. So we're going to start with the sweet spot score. You see a ranking over here. That rank is based off the sweet spot score. But I want to let you know what stats I'm using for that score. Usually, basically every single week, you've heard this, I use the official World Golf Ranking. And I think that's a really good tool to use because, one, it just shows you the quality of golfer there is. It also goes into the strength of field for a given tournament. So, I mean, it's like a no-brainer to use that. I developed a score where your number one golfer, the score gets really close to 100. So you can see Dustin Johnson fell to world number 2, 99.33. If, say, Jon Rahm was here, he'd be 99.66. So he'd get a slight boost. And as you can tell, it's not like a huge advantage being Jon Rahm over Dustin, but we're going to go ahead and reward him a little bit. So that's what I have as the very first stat we're looking at. The next one, I usually just look at, course stats, basically like tournament history, what type of grass is there, even the architect. I typically put Pete Dye stats into a Pete Dye golf course, using the sweet spot score, but this week I didn't. In the past, I think the last one, the PGA Championship, I think, was a Pete Dye event. Prior to that, I can't remember what the last one was, maybe RBC Heritage, but I really didn't see much success of those that had, I shouldn't say much success. A lot of the top 10 had very bad Pete Dye stats. And I think a big portion of that, a big reason, is we only have 5 events per year that are Pete Dye golf courses, and it's very difficult to get a golfer to play all 5 events. So we really have a small sample size when looking at Pete Dye stats, except for those veterans that have played a Pete Dye golf course dating back to 2013. So we're going to see new golfers or golfers with very little Pete Dye experience do well at a golf course like this. I usually do like to look at Pete Dye stats. So I'm not really trying to waver you guys off of looking at Pete Dye stats. If you want to, be my guest. I think it's a good stat point, especially like stroke gain stats. Now, I don't have a database built yet. I do have a lot of the data to build one. I just haven't gotten around to it. If I had that data, and I don't use anyone else's sites or anything like that, if I had the data, I'd probably be looking at Pete Dye stats. But anyways, long story short, the only quote-unquote course stats I'm using is course history and the POA stats. POA average dates back to 2013, so golfers that have experience going back to 2013, their results, I bake that into a score. Then top 10 success rate. That's another stat I use. Then we look at course history, bogey avoidance, birdie or better. Again, the better the golfer is with that stat, the closer to 100 their score is. And then I use recent form stats in the form of DraftKings average, recent form average, which is the result, and scoring average, which obviously is each round score. And again, I try to make this as close to 100, but then I divide by 2. So really, as close to 50 as possible would be your best golfer with those stats in this field. So Paul Casey, 49.36, that's really close to 50. I don't want to weigh recent form that great because we could have a couple of guys that have 1 or 2 events under their belt with really good recent form, like a Paul Casey. And I don't want them to be misrepresented. Yeah, they're playing well for the 2 events they played, but that's not quite the same as someone who's playing well over 5, 6 events. And then I'm looking at season-long DK average and scoring average. So with all that being said, let me go ahead and throw a filter on this. Obviously, number 1 golfer, I shouldn't say obviously, you probably already saw it though. Number 1 golfer, Dustin Johnson in this field. And I'm not going to talk about everybody, but this is your top 20. Number 20 would be Kevin Na. Number 21, if you remember from the DFS preview video, he who shall not be named. I won't be playing any Jason Day. I don't trust him. But number 1, Dustin Johnson, no surprise. I usually like to look at anyone who's in the 7K range or even the 8K range to see how they fare against 9K golfers. And I mean, the first guy I see is Adam Scott. $8,000. He's my number 8 ranked golfer in this field. That's pretty good value. It's pretty rare to see someone up here in like the low 8K range or even high 7K range. So Adam Scott being here, probably going to be one of those anchor plays for me. We'll see how the buckets end up, turning out, but pretty close. He's on that short list to be on an anchor play. Harris English right there too. I really like Harris English, and I'll let you know he is an anchor play this week. So do like Harris English. And then going from there, Sam Burns, $7,700. Really difficult not to go with someone like him. This type of golf course is a scorer's golf course. You're not going to have to hit a lot of balls off the tee. It's more of an accuracy off the tee type of tournament. And I think this is something where Sam Burns is going to thrive on. We'll double check to see how, the post stats look. We'll definitely take a look at that when determining ownership and go from there. But yeah, Sam Burns, Harris English, Adam Scott. Those are really good values. And then anyone who is, 9K and above that you see up here, or even 8K and above, all solid plays. So with this, I do look at, I look at several things when determining which golfers I'm going to talk about when looking at Time Pairings. So the very first thing is looking at this column called game, and game 1 means the first tee time off of hole 1. 2 would be the first tee time off of hole 10. So basically these are your Thursday morning tee times, or just Thursday tee times altogether. And if there is a color shaded in the game number that you see, it's because of one of 3 things. Let me scroll and see. Okay. So yellow would indicate their scoring average is better than field average. Light green would indicate that their DraftKings average is better than field average, and those are both season-long stats. And then this dark green means both scoring average and DraftKings average are better than field average. And then with all that being said, if 3 golfers in a tee time pairing have colors shaded in for their game numbers, I will then look at their sweet spot score. And if it's under 100, they'll get a dark green. If it's under 200, they'll get a light green. If it's under 300, they'll get this yellow. And I'm only going to be talking about golfers that have that dark green color because those are our really good, quote unquote, marquee groups. But we can go ahead and kind of zoom past some of these and talk a little bit about them. So your very first group, this would be teeing off a hole 10, has pretty good, DraftKings average and scoring average against this field. Cameron Tringali, Harold Varner III, Sepp Straka. If you want to start there, I have no issue with that, especially when it comes to showdown slates. I think that could be a really good group. The next one is kind of questionable to talk about, but Tom Hoge, Doug Gim, and Denny McCarthy. McCarthy and Hoge, very good scores. And I should say that's the same thing with Doug Gim. I mean, Doug Gim at the Players' Championship was second place heading into Sunday's round, and then obviously just blew it all away. So he has had success at Pete Dye golf courses. So don't, don't fall asleep on Doug Gim. I think it would be a decent play. Scrolling down from there, our next one would be Matt Jones, KH Lee, and Nate Lashley. I have no issues if you want to roster any of those 3 golfers. I think that's pretty decent. Then we get to our first marquee group. And you know what? I'm going to save the marquee group till the end. So we'll skip past that for now. Our next group after that, Cameron Smith, Sebastian Munoz, and Bryce Garnett. If it wasn't for Bryce Garnett, this group could be a marquee group. Bryce Garnett is better than field average and better than field average in DraftKings points and scoring average, but his sweet spot score is bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with his official world golf ranking. Yeah, he's 262, so that's not really helping much. How about his stats? Just looking, very bad on POA. That's going to be it. That and course history. So bad course history, bad on POA. That's what's really ultimately leading to his terrible score. It's not a given. Sebastian Munoz's number is pretty large, but Cam Smith and Sebastian Munoz, I don't mind them together. They are kind of a high quality play, and Bryce Garnett is kind of a good wild card. So if you want to play him, go for it. I think that's okay. I just noticed Scotty Scheffler is playing with Scott Piercy and JB Holmes. God have mercy on his soul. I don't know a worse group that I would want to play with. I'm not saying anything really terrible about Scott Piercy, but oh my gosh, JB Holmes, I don't like it. The one bright spot in all of this is they all hit fades. So they're all going to see the same shot shape as they play. So that actually might be a good thing. But I'm going to be staying away from that group. And that includes Scotty Scheffler. I'll play him in some, but probably going to avoid him. We'll skip these next 2 groups since they're marquee groups. Adam Scott, Lonto Griffin, and CT Pan would be the next one. And if it wasn't for CT Pan's score, this would be a marquee group as well. So I wouldn't sleep on this one. I think, obviously, I really like Adam Scott. I don't know if this really hurts him whatsoever. Maybe having a quiet group is going to boost his score, his playability, whatever you want to call it, him and Lanto. So I don't mind that group whatsoever. I think there are a lot of good plays there, or a couple good plays. We'll skip the next one since it's the marquee group. This yellow group, Wyndham Clark, Brian Stewart, Mark Hubbard. I don't know what happened to Mark Hubbard, but he used to be a very, very low scoring golfer. Hasn't been since. This was the beginning of last season after the COVID restart. I don't know where he's gone. He just hasn't been playing good golf. I don't know if he turns it around, but altogether, this group, Wyndham Clark has loads of potential. And I know I have some followers that are huge Brian Stewart fans. I can't say that I am. I'm more likely just going to stay away from this group. Scrolling down, we have Doc Redman, Matthew Neesmith, and Chase Seifert. I do like Chase Seifert quite a bit. The sweet spot score would not indicate that, but I have been playing him in a few recent tournaments, and he hasn't disappointed. I should say, I think he had in one, but for the most part, he has the ability to go low, and I like that here. So I will be playing as much Chase Seifert as I can within reason. And then Doc Redman. I don't think Doc Redman has slowly been gaining more confidence and providing better results. So Doc Redman for me, I don't mind whatsoever. Scrolling down, we'll skip that marquee group, the 2 here actually, and talk about this one. Brandt Snedeker, Aaron Wise, Nick Taylor. I think that's a fantastic group. Nick Taylor is a ball striking machine, as is Brandt Snedeker, but Brandt Snedeker's quirkiness for me is just, it's too hard to handle. It's unbearable at times. And whatever he's doing on the golf course, it looks like he's always trying to tweak something. Let me put it a different way too. Brandt Snedeker can go really low, dangerously low at any given time. I just think where he's at now isn't nearly the same as he was last year or 2 years ago. I just haven't seen enough consistency out of him to be confident in playing him. So I'm probably going to stay away from Brandt Snedeker, but Aaron Wise has the volatility to either be a top 10 golfer or a very bad missed cut. And Nick Taylor, I think, is pretty safe. So not a terrible group to select golfers from. And I think they'll actually help them out. I'd say, I mean, Aaron Wise has been really bad on the green. Most of these guys, very conservative golfers. So I do like that group. And maybe it brings Aaron Wise down a little bit in a way where, you know, he's not playing super aggressive, but who knows? We'll see. Scrolling down, the next group, Kyle Stanley, Scott Stallings, Seamus Power, Monday qualified. I like that group. You know, if you need a 6K golfer, I don't mind using Stallings or Power. Obviously, I'd use them sparingly, but not terrible. And Kyle Stanley, you know, $7,000. It's a good price for him. He's pretty solid most of the time. So I don't mind if you want to play Kyle Stanley. And that would be it. Time to talk about the marquee groups. Let me go ahead and put a filter on this. We're only going to be talking about these light colors. Now, every single week for the last 4 weeks, I've been doing this. I'm highlighting, you know, every or a group of 3 golfers because they're obviously in the same tee time. This is their pairings. All but one tournament had every single pairing produce a top 10 result. As in, basically, if I look at the first 3, Rose, Ortiz, Keegan, one of these guys will finish top 10. Same applies for the next one. Let's say Patrick Cantlay. The next one, Bryson. Next one, Sam Burns. Next one, Casey. Next one, Dustin. The only time this didn't work out was the Palmetto Championship. And I don't know if that's just because it's a week event. It worked last week at the US Open. And I if you haven't seen the review video, go ahead and take a look there because I did post that there. You had the winner, you had second place. I don't think you had the optimal lineup. You couldn't pick the optimal lineup, but very good place to grab a core of golfers from. So if you want to start your lineups with any 2 of these guys, preferably in different groups. So if you were on Rose, don't pair them up with an Ortiz and a Bradley unless you're doing showdown. Pair Rose up like a DeChambeau. And if you are on any of these golfers already and you're watching this video and, you know, I'm not really trying to persuade you anyway, or one way or the other, but if you were on someone like Bryson DeChambeau and a Sam Burns, I'm telling you right now, you're in good hands. You have a good chance to start with the optimal lineup by selecting golfers from here. I do kind of, you know, I'm not as confident this week that we're going to find each one of these pairings to produce a top 10, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to find 2 golfers you're going to need from the optimal lineup within this list. There are 6 pairings, meaning there are 18 golfers to choose from. And for me, I mean, if we just look at this just by pricing alone, you know, we have a ton of 10K. We have all of our 10K and above golfers in it. We do have a good chunk of 9K golfers. Oh, not a good chunk, just 2. Some 8K golfers. The rest of them are 7K golfers. You can, this is the glue of your lineups. I mean, I'm not saying the 7K is an automatic in to be top 10. It's very probable that a Patrick Cantlay and a Paul Casey finish 1-2. And the rest of the guys you wouldn't have in your optimal lineup. So even though I see a bunch of 7K golfers, that's just kind of a trap to make you think you need to pick 7K golfers. Everyone here is live to finish inside the top 10. And I would just use whatever your confidence rankings are to pick the right 2 golfers to choose from. You might get away with 3 since we do see some 7K golfers. But yeah, I just want to mention that. For me, honestly, I like Keegan Bradley so much, and I also like Carlos Ortiz. I'll probably play a considerable amount of these 2 golfers and pair them up with any of the golfers below. I really like Tony Finau this week. I also really like Dustin Johnson. Bubba is a flyer. I think I have him in one of my one and done pools, but you know, that's my FOMO a little bit. I might play him in a couple of lineups, but probably going to stay away from him. Really like Paul Casey this week. Sam Burns, a really good 7K golfer. So is Stuart Sink, as is Brendan Todd. He who shall not be named, not going there. I don't care much for Patrick Reed this week. I'll play him in some lineups, but I think I can pivot from him or just not own a lot of him. Don't put a lot of max exposure on him. Put it on other golfers. I still want to play Patrick Reed in case he hits. You know, I build 100 lineups a week. He can be on 1, 2, 3, or 5 lineups. That's fine. I don't mind allocating 5% to him, but he's not going to be someone I'm going to do a lot of. I do like DeChambeau. A lot of you guys are, messaging me about these international golfers that I don't roster, and then I say, oh man, I don't know how he finished top 10. Garrick Higgo is one of those guys. I don't mind playing him. He's not going to be someone I'm going to reach for, but I'll play him in some of my lineups. Patrick Cantlay, I really like. Keegan Bradley, Carlos Ortiz. So the golfers that I've highlighted, probably more than I need to. I mean, if I'm doing any anchor plays, it's going to be the golfers that I have currently highlighted. So Finau, DJ, Casey, DeChambeau, Cantlay, and Bradley. And just to add to the mix, I'll be playing some Carlos Ortiz, Stuart Sink, Sam Burns, Brendan Todd, and I mean, I'll be playing some Bubba. Not a lot, but probably staying away from the other guys. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to build a lineup or 5 of those other golfers I didn't talk about because I do not want to miss out on this. I am kind of a firm believer that we will find at least 2 of our golfers in the optimal lineup here. So I think it's a good place to start. And again, these are anchor tee time pairings. From here, I'm going to go right into our anchor buckets. If you're unfamiliar with this, basically what I end up doing is I've done this a couple different ways, but primarily I'm looking at this little section here, top 5 frequencies for the buckets. And if you haven't, if you don't know what the buckets are, again, highly encourage you to go watch the DFS preview. You're going to get a good idea of what they are. I'm not going to explain them here. But I basically just take out the zeros and look at all of the minimums that have all these buckets that have at least finished inside the top 5 every single year. I shouldn't say at least. It would be at least. So golfers who did not play in this tournament the year before have a really good chance of finishing inside the top 5. We've had a minimum of 1 every single year. We've had a max of 3. Now this bucket, there are less golfers in it than when we see on average per year. So maybe we curb our expectation a little bit, but I still like it. We're still projecting around 2 golfers finishing inside the top 10 from this bucket. Our last week bucket ones, those are golfers who did not play last week. So we're talking about the US Open. Those that didn't play the US Open have a good leg up of finishing inside the top 10. This is a very volume driven bucket. We usually see around 100 per year. We have 100 this year, which means every single year dating back to 2013, we've seen at least 2 golfers finish inside the top 5 that come from this bucket. So, I mean, we could kind of take a look at exactly who those golfers are. How about we do that really quickly right now? Because I'm also curious. I want to see if it's just a no-namer or if it's someone we know. So Will Gordon, $6,200 golfer, and then Kevin Na, $71. That was in 2020. In 2019, we had Zach Sucher, so a $6,200 golfer, Vaughn Taylor, $67, and Jaco Niemann, $75. I guess Kevin Tway. Am I reading that right? So there's 4. Oh yeah, we have a max of 4. So there we go. Yeah, 4. 2018, JB Holmes, 8,000. Bo Hausler, 74. Stuart Sink, 71. Danny Lee at 68. And Boo Weekley at 69. So I think this might be where we shop around for the 6K golfers. And I guess we don't see anything here in 2016 with price-wise, but Jerry Kelly we can assume would be low price. Patrick Rogers would probably be a low price guy as well. We have Garrigus and Van Aswagen. I know it's not Aswagen, it's Aswegen, but everyone likes to call him the Aswagen. They would all be low priced golfers. Graham Dillette probably wouldn't have been, but Carl Pedersen probably would have been. And that was 2015. This is 2014. KJ Choi, I'm not sure what his price would have been. And Brendan Steele probably would have been like in the 7K range, most likely. So that was 2014 and 2013, just to humor us. Ken Duke, he would have been low priced. So would Chris Stroud. Graham Dillette probably wouldn't have been there. JJ Henry may have been. But basically what I'm trying to say is it looks like it's a bunch of 6K golfers, either newbies, like new guys on the tour, or old guys. Like if we're taking a look, Stuart Sink in 2018, JB Holmes, and then Beau Hosler. Beau Hosler would have been a young guy, and the other two were kind of older guys. In 2019, we had Zach Sucher, Vaughn Taylor. Vaughn Taylor's an old guy. Zach Sucher's kind of a younger guy. Yako is a young guy, and Kevin Tway was a young guy. And then 2020, Will Gordon. This was his pro debut, I think, or perhaps this created his pro debut. I don't remember. I think if you get a third place finish, you have special temporary status on tour. So Will Gordon, $6,200. He would have been your new guy. And then Kevin Na, he's not super old, but he's a veteran, right? So if we were, once we get to that bucket, when we talk about golfers in that bucket, we want to be looking at some of the new guys that probably score really well. And then maybe some of the wily veterans that didn't play in the US Open. So we'll take a look there. I believe Kevin Na actually falls in that bucket. So interesting to think about. Our next one, course history 2s, we see a minimum of 1, and we're projecting around 3. So we'll be playing at least 1, a max of 3. Recent form 1s, we see a minimum of 1, maximum of 3, and we're projected around 5, or at least close to 6. So I will be playing at least 1 and a max of 5. Like I'm going to round down and make it 5. So it's going to be a max of 5 for recent form 1s. Recent form 3s, we've seen 1 every single year inside the top 5. And I should also note all of these buckets are surpassing their average per year. Meaning I think it's just a better chance they finish inside the top 10 and top 5. Like I think these are very safe buckets to choose golfers from. Unfortunately, they're large buckets to choose from, like 43, 50, 57. That's it's not simple to choose, unlike the one right below it, which we'll get to. But to go on to the recent form 3s, I'm going to play at least 1 and up to 3. Because 2.83, 3 is less than the max we've seen inside the top 10. I'm cool with just doing 3. So I know we see a max of 5 inside the top 10, but it's going to be somewhere between 1 and 3. And then salaries, I don't necessarily care. This can change any given time. It all depends on strength of field when it comes to salaries. Strokes gained kind of is the same thing. If the strength of field is low, we're probably going to see more golfers with the strokes gained stats that I have right here. And again, if you don't know what this means, I did explain it in the preview video, so go take a look. I'm not really going to be looking at, minimum ownerships or maximum ownerships based off of these. But essentially what I'm going to do from here, we're going to determine our ownership. And that's where we're going next with all of this. I'm going to take a look at the projected amount. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to take this number, multiply it by 100, and that's going to be my max ownership for that bucket. So I guess what I could do, let me go ahead and open this up. I can add a bucket here on the right side of it, and let's just say max own. Yeah, sure, whatever. And basically it's just going to be a sum function. So we'll go sum of G4 times 100. And yeah, let's fill it all the way down. So anything that's negative, I'm just going to put, I don't really want to put 0. I'm going to do this. Let's make this a minus. I'm fine with doing that primarily because we'll see. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to end up looking out. I just don't want to see negative numbers. Let's put it that way. Man, if I could, so my keyboard is underneath a laptop, which is underneath a desk. So it's difficult to kind of try to find the minus numbers. And then the enter number. There we go. I think I got it now. Should have had this ready, but kind of didn't think about it until now. All right, so everything is a positive. No, not everything. There, everything is a positive number now. So obviously you can see some of these buckets have very, very large max ownerships, and some of them do not. Perfectly fine. Like our last week 5s, we have 7 golfers in that bucket. I'm going to have a max ownership of 3.45 amongst all of them. All 7 of them. However, on the flip side, last week 1s, 608. So if I'm building 100 lineups, let's just take a look here. I'm going to use this as kind of my lineup building tool. Unfortunately, you can't see some of the information over here. I'll go ahead and hide this. Don't want to clear it. You can kind of see, but this has some data just to drive the spreadsheet. So actually, you know what? It's fine. We don't need to see it. But basically, if I'm making 100 lineups, we obviously have 6 positions per lineup. So obviously 6 times 100, that equals 600. I guess I didn't really need to show you this, but sometimes it's good to see the visual reference. Obviously 6 positions available in a lineup. So anyways, 608, I mean 600 is going to be my max. So I don't really care that it says 608. With this number, so if we go to the dream sheet and I look at all last week 1s, I have this column here just noted as ownership. And let me sort this out from top to bottom. So basically, I have this dummy data in here. This says 9% for Keegan Bradley. We're going to increase that a little bit here. But as I scroll down and I add all of this, you guys can't see it, but obviously on all Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, right down here in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a sum function. I can tell you right now, all of this equals 473. So all golfers in this, how many do I have exactly? For last week 1s, we have 100 in the field. I'm going to be going through and determining my ownership levels based off of this. And usually my rule of thumb is anyone in the 6K range does not get over 10%. So I already know Keegan Bradley, I'm going to be owning a lot of him. I'm fine going down with the ship. Part of my strategy also is never owning anyone over 33%. 40 I've gotten to a couple times, but I own 40% of Victor Hovland at the US Open. He withdrew. You have to safeguard yourself. You can either go really risky like that, or you can, be somewhat smart about it, I guess. So 33% would be my most. I'm not going to own Keegan 33%. I'm just going to give him a random number. I'm going to give him 24%. So I'm going to own Keegan in 24% of my lineups. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, all of these players, yeah, let me select everybody. I apologize for this, but I'm going to look at POA percentage. Anyone who's 0% is getting 0%. Maybe not Garrick Higo, but here's what I'm going to actually do. Everyone's going to get 0.5%. No, everyone can get 1%. That's fine. So I will provide 1% for everyone that has 0. You know what? We're going to freeze up to this column so I can scroll over and look at everybody who does not have good POA stats. So as we scroll down, here's all the guys that have 0%. A lot of these guys I don't even think we would play anyways. I'm actually going to make 0% for some of these golfers here. Andrew Svoboda, nope. Alex Beach, nope. I don't mind Campos. Let's go through this fast, hey. I'm gonna keep it as is. I don't see anybody that I absolutely know I need to put at 0%. So this is fine. Everybody but Garrick is 1%. That is absolutely perfect. And then for the rest of these, the max that I'm giving any of these golfers are going to be here. That's under 5%. They're getting this number right here. There we go. I don't want to go over this. I don't care. Like, it's just one of those things for me. I do see Carlos Ortiz is here. I can make executive decisions as well, but I just want to actually go look at the grass stats first, determine that before I actually get into this. So now we'll look at our last week ones. Again, this is going to equal around 600%. So as I look at these golfers, and we can go price down. So really, I think if I just like a golfer, let's just go and put like 15%. I don't mind Doc Redman, Jason Day, he who shall not be named, 1%. So I don't know. Can I just go 15 for everybody? Probably not. I really don't want to go 15 for everybody. I do like Taylor Gooch, so let's go ahead and bump him up to 15%. Russell Knox go up to 15%, as can Pat Perez. That's totally fine. Keith Mitchell, I guess we're going to keep at 1%. This must be my POA golfers that aren't very good at POA. Danny Lee, I'll increase him to 7%. That's fine. Will Gordon, I like a lot, so I'm going to put it at 10%. We'll keep him there. All these 1%ers, obviously we know that's because of POA. Scott Stallings, I talked about him in the Time Pairings. I don't mind putting him up to 7%. Benny Ann, we can boost it to like 4%. Chase Seifert, I like him as well. I'm going to move him to 10%. Hudson Swafford's a good player, so I'm going to go ahead and put him to 7. That's totally fine. I don't know why he was at 4. Could be because of POA, but I do like Hudson Swafford. Probably going to stay away from Andrew or Ryan Armour, primarily because he's more of a bent grass or a Bermuda grass specialist. So a couple other 1%ers here. I do like Nick Taylor. Let's go ahead and put him to 7. Don't mind Vaughn Taylor. Because Piercy's in the group he's in, we can go ahead and mark that up. He's with Scotty Scheffler and JB Holmes. Maybe I'll keep it at 5. Sabtini 4.8, that's fine. Harry Higgs at 1%. Vincent Whaley. Let's go ahead and bump him up to 5. He obviously has bad POA, and that's why he was at 1%. But that's we'll make an exception. I wanted to put Kevin Chappell up a little bit. Maybe I should just add points to these guys. So Robert Streb, he's at 74. Actually, our halfway point, we talk about that a lot, 78. So I'll just add 2 points to him. The sweet spot score, if you recall, I'm trying to find golfers that are underneath the halfway mark for the golfers in the field. So obviously, I have golfers all 156 ranked. So there's 156 ranks. Half point of that is 78. So if it's under 78, the sweet spot score, I'm going to give them a little, just a couple points of love, if you want to call it that. And then some of these other guys, I'm just going to leave as is. So what does that leave me at? 467.58. And that's because I made a judgment call on Jason Day, Lucas Herbert. I don't know. I could go 20% with some of these guys up here. I guess just do 15 for everybody, right? Man, somebody from here is going to finish top 10. Who's it going to be? I mean, I already put 10% for Gordon. I like all my guys in the 6K range. Neesmith, I guess I'll give a couple more points to. Same with Keith Mitchell, just because I know they're good players. But yeah, Pat Perez 15. I mean, if I'm putting 15 to Pat Perez, I might as well do it for everyone else. Except for Chesson Hadley. Sure, that's fine. What does this equal now? 486.58. I'm not going to get really anywhere else. I think that's fine. We're going to move on. This was a lot longer than I anticipated it being. So basically, that's what I'm going to be doing. It's going through each of these buckets, basically creating my ownerships based off of that. I'll try to be as quick as possible. So let's just start top, bottom, last year twos. Let's take a look here. We have 17 in the field this week, 152.89. Last year twos. Dustin John. Okay, so what's our ownership already? 197.78. We need to drop some of these guys. So I think I will be doing that. And, with all that too, we do have some golfers that are in this last week bucket. So we might be increasing some numbers. We might be dropping some numbers. We'll take a look. Like Zach Johnson, I do like him, but we can drop him a little bit. We can put him to 10%. Let's put him to 7%. That's fine. We just bumped him up. We can drop Mackenzie Hughes. We'll put him to 9%. Brennan Steele, let's bring him down to 9%. Brennan Todd, I'll put him to 9% too. Kevin Na, look at that. Actually, no. What's there to look at? I was going to mention he was in a bucket to pick from, and I don't think it's this one. So let's see. Kevin Na, we'll keep him at 14. 15, that's fine. 15, that's fine. Abraham Answer, 3.33. That is because of his POA. I do like Abraham Answer this week. He's 16th ranked in the model. Not super good when it comes to 9K golfers. Has decent course history here. Let's take a look. So 40, he finished 11th here last year. 27.78 Pete Dye. Top 10 success rate. Let's see, what is the percentage that I'm okay with owning him at? Just trying to look at all the other stats to find an answer. I think what I'm going to do is just give him 12%. That's fine. Streelman, I think I can up a little bit. Patrick Cantley. So all of these guys, I think I'm just giving 20% right away. I know I wanted to reduce some of these numbers. Now I'm at 203. Which I think is fine. So another way to look at this, I'm projecting 1.53. Basically, let's see here. How am I trying to get at this? I'm going to use the frequency rate, 85%. And in 100 of my lineups, I'm only going to own golfers from this bucket in 85% of my lineups, if that makes sense. So if I do take a look here, the golfers that we have, so actually I'm going to open this up because I need to grab it this way. So Dustin Johnson, we can grab him and we're going to own him 20% of the time. Let me go ahead, throw that here. I'm making 100 lineups. So I'm going to scroll down. This is 20 lineups right here for Dustin Johnson. Same thing I'm going to apply. Actually, you know what? Bryson, let's put him to 12. That's fine. I could even go lower. We'll go ahead and put him in 12 lineups. And Patrick Cantley in 20. That is 22. Okay, so with those three golfers, I've reserved 52 lineups. So basically, since that number is 85, what I'm going to do is 33 more lineups will have golfers starting with either of these guys. Obviously, we could start with Kevin Streelman. So I want to add Kevin Streelman to each one of these guys at least once. So I'm going to start this right there. I'll go here, here. This is bringing back old memories. I used to do this. all the time. So I have 4 Kevin Streelmans down. I only want 15. So let's say 3, I need to add 12. There we go. This gets me down to 64. I know this is probably tedious to some of you guys. So same thing applies for Abraham Answer. I want to add him with everybody that I see, everyone that I started lineups with. And so there's 4 down. I only want 12 lineups of him. How about we just do 10 and we can increase his number? No, I'll keep it at 9. That's fine. So anyways, that's how I'm going to start my lineups. And I actually have no problem doing it this way. Which means for the last week ones, I'm not going to get around to 600 of them, right? I'm most likely, if I were to clear this and look at last week ones, I think we're probably okay with some of these 6K golfers, but the other guys, like, I could easily just go 0% for some of these that are at 1%. I know Hank Lebio. Okay, I'll keep him at 1%. Sepp Straka. Oof. Let's keep him at 1%. That's dangerous. Anyways, I don't need to keep doing this, but that's essentially what I could be doing. It's just removing some of those guys, and that's all I'm trying to get at. You know, in retrospect, me doing this, I thought was going to be a lot faster. Not quite what I had expected. Last year 5s, 0.59. Okay, so we are looking at max ownership of 58. So last year 5s. Show yourselves. Last year 5. No way. 58% ownership for these guys here. Okay, well, I already know that's 0 here, 0 here. Three, 9. What does this equal right now? 82. So we already know we're dropping Reed. I like Casey way too much. I don't like Phil, so I'll put him down to 2. What is this at right now? 62.27. This is pretty darn close. I think I can bring this down here. I do want more Paul Casey, so I think 18% is the way I'm going there. Lanto I like. Shoot. I just need 2 points now. Do we do it with Burns? That's crazy. Like, this is kind of what I was hoping to see, is something like this. I didn't see this before, but 58%, because, I mean, our success rate's not that great. I mean, we've had a max of 3 show up inside the top 10, which is fine of the 58 golfers we have. We could easily do something like this. So if I go here, I'm just going to add them here because it's the only way I can do something like this. I could easily do this, and boom, I have all 3 covered. Obviously, I wouldn't do it with that Dustin Johnson lineup, but that's what I can do if I wanted to create lineups this way. Is start there, and I would have 3 lineups created. This obviously takes up 3 percentage points from what I would be doing. Hopefully that makes sense. So right away, bucket system. These are the guys that are going down. Let's see if we can see more like that. Last year 4s, 154. I think in retrospect, I would just do this and be ready. So right now, this currently equals 117%. I can add points, and that's what I'm going to end up doing. Charlie Hoffman, we like, right? So add him 18%. Leishman, 18%. Maybe Norlander, we add a little bit. No, yeah, that's fine. Reeve, that's fine. We can keep him there. 15, 15, 15. He who shall not be named is just sitting there like, you can add some points to me. Like, I would make a good lineup. Actually, why don't we just go ahead, put 20 with Hoffman, 20 with Leishman. Actually, no. No, we can do this, and the other buckets are going to fall in place. They're going to reduce some of the ownership for these golfers. I feel like there's a golfer here that I just need to play. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to waste time. Last year's 6 is 81 total. I mean, there's a negative number here, so I wouldn't mind playing this at 0. But we have Joaquin Neiman. So 28%. I think I just leave it as is. That shows a lot about Joaquin Neiman, though. I mean, if there was ever a reason not to play him, well, for not finishing inside the top 10, this would be it. I mean, Ian Poulter. This is a negative number, so I'm going to pull him down. Oh, no, I'm going to keep him at 10. I'm sorry. We're keeping it right here. That all looks good. We don't have to talk about that. Last year 3s, 248. Where are we with the last year 3s? 248. This is 333. Yeah, I think we could probably limit a lot of the golfers that we see here. We already got our 6K range down. We don't need to do much there. So we added to Russell Knox and Taylor Gooch when it came to the last week 1s. I'm actually going to reduce their ownership. Maybe not Gooch. I like Gooch. Kevin Kisner, I'll reduce his. Matt Jones, I'll reduce his. I like Sebastian Munoz. That's okay. We can play him at 8%. Carlos Ortiz, that saddens me. I like him. I want to play him more than this, but we'll leave it. CT Pan, we increased because the last week 1s. We can decrease it here because we kind of need to. So I'll go ahead and put him at 10. Stuart Sink, I'm going to put at 5. Cameron Tringali, we increased. Max Homa, I'm going to decrease to 5. We like Keegan Bradley. Justin Rose, don't care for. Cam Smith, don't really care for. Same with Harmon, that's fine. Those are all good percentages. Bubba Watson, that's good too. Okay, so I don't think I can really push it down that much further. We are now at 305. So that's close enough. Our max is 3. Minimum and top 10 is 1. So we have seen 100% exposure. When we have a number as large as we do with 300, that's basically saying we have 300 positions open. I don't think I want to play at least 3 of those golfers inside each of those lineups, but we'll see. I think the max is going to be 2. So to me, I think, yeah, 248 is okay, but I should stick to like 200%. I don't know if I can create more lineups though if I were to do that. Last year 1s, 217. So this is our last year bucket. And currently we have 212. So we don't have to do anything to this one. Perfect. Sometimes I do believe it's going to fall into place like that. So last week 4s. We want 51. 51%. We are way over that. 163. So is there any place we can do this? You know what this is kind of like reminding me of? I can limit down all of my players to my favorite plays. And from there, basically build a bunch of lineups with the same golfers in it. Like I could easily put just DJ at 60% and then everybody else at 0%. And it would get me my number. 51.35. I think this bucket's going to be, I think we're going to see at least 1. So I think I need 100% exposure. So the number I'd be okay with being to 100. We are obviously over that. We're at 150, 163 actually. You know what? That's actually a number I'm okay with. I know the projection is 0.51, but with the golfers that are in this bucket, I think it's better than that. I think these are actually really good numbers. So we're going to skip past this. And go into the next one. Last week twos. %94 is what we have. 95 is what we need. So there we go. Perfect. Everything's working out. So you can see the percentages that I have. I think it's that works out well. So the next bucket, last week fives, we're looking for 3%. So we're going to put a bunch of 0% next to these guys. Okay. Sure. Why not? This equals 56% currently. $3.45. Let's see. Hold on. We see a max of 2, max of 1 inside the top 5. Frequency though, 87.5%. So that's the other thing I should go with too. I'm gonna leave this as is as well. I have to figure out a different way to do this because like the frequency rate is really what I want to be going by. 87.5%. That means all but 1 year there's been a golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. So I would want close to 100% exposure. I have 51%, so we'll leave it at that. That's fine. And really, that's how I should really be looking at this. 37.5 for last week's sixes. I think we saw some notable golfers with last week's sixes. So Phil Mickelson, Mark Leishman, Matt Jones. Together, I have this at 31%. Perfect. 37, 42, wonderful. We can leave it as is. So that's good. Mark Leishman, he escapes, being cut. Let's open this up to everybody. There, we're kind of going a little bit quicker now. That's good. Course history threes. 20 is what I have for max ownership, but a frequency rate of 83.33%. So probably a number somewhere in between there, right? Course history what? Course history threes. I have 99%. I can drop some of these guys like Brendan Steele, probably Ricky Fowler. I like Ricky, but obviously we need to drop the percentages here. 90%. Let's go ahead. I'm going to drop Bryson. How about we give him like 7, lucky 7. 85%. Sure. 18% for DJ. That's fine. 83% we're at now. This is exactly what the bucket is. And I'm going to give equal opportunity to Ricky. Maybe not Doc. Never mind. I don't like that. There. This is fine. 81%. That's fine. Okay. So course history ones. 292 is my projected max ownership. 100% frequency rate. So somewhere between 100 and 292 would be fine. I mean, we have a max of 3 for top 5. So really finding 3 golfers from here would be totally fine. So our current ownership is 289.94. We're already on the number. We don't have to do anything else. I don't care to either. Course history 2s. What do we need here? Course history 2, 321, a max of 4, so we go up to 400%, and frequency of 100%. So as long as it's underneath 400%, we're good. So this is at 268. It's very similar to the last week bucket. Hard to get up to some of those. But we want what? At least 1. Yeah, I'm okay with this. I mean, will we have 268? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's more than enough. Course history 5s, 125, frequency 100%. So yeah, we do want this over 100. So course history 5s, okay. I personally, I wouldn't have even have looked at it this way. Course history 5 is not a good number. And I'm at 128.48. So we're over 100. We're 3 points above. Perfect. It's fun how that works out. Course history 6 is 40.12. And actually, what are we looking at? 66.67% frequency rate. So we could go up to 66.67, somewhere between 40 and 60. That would be fine. And what do we have? We have 80. So we can drop these numbers a little bit. Really, I mean, I'm just going to put 0 for some of these guys. Oh, Martin Trainer. I don't know why that was like that. That's crazy. So we're at 75. We want to get to 60. Sorry, Michael Kim. I don't trust you either. Scott Harrington, I can play 1%. Sean O'Hare, I'm going to play you at 1%. Rob Oppenheim, 1%. Fratelli, I'm okay with that. We did have Neesmith at 1%, and we also had Keith Mitchell at 1%. We are at 66, so sure. Neesmith and Mitchell. And I can stick with some of these guys. You know, I probably should even drop Chesson Hadley. Like, there's no reason to play Chesson at this. So we'll go 6%. 56.76. And now that I think of it, it'd be silly to play that much Gooch. So now we're at 51.76. Somewhere between 40 and 66. I'm okay with the ownership that we see here. I do want to play Scotty. I like that. I mean, maybe I should drop a little Sebastian because he's not as... Yeah, we can add a little to Scotty. That's fine. There probably isn't that much reason to play Taylor Gooch at 10%, really. It's a Faders golf course. It's a draw. Sure, we'll put him at 7. We'll add those guys back up. So now we're at 57.7. Okay, that's fine. Course history 4s. I have 15, but we have 100% frequency rate. We've seen one inside the top 10. That's 100%. So we want at least 100, as I see it. This bucket is actually smaller, so maybe we can go a few points underneath 100. That'd be fine. And we are at 76%. So I want to get closer to 100. How do we go about doing that? Adding more to Adam Scott? Adding more to Guido? How about I just put these young guys at 10%? So this is at 85%. I think that's fine. I don't know how I can get there, really. It just tells me I want to play more Adam Scott, if I'm being honest. So that's what we're going to do. All right, recent form. We're almost home free. So taking a look at, what's the first one we want to look at? Recent form 5s. And of these recent form 5s, we are looking at 57% as kind of the max and 22.58. So between 20 and 60. 51. So perfect. We're good there. Next one on the docket, recent form 2s. Ooh. Recent form 2s equaled up to 253. We are looking at a projection of 276. So we're right on the number with that one. Recent form 1s, looking at 568. 100% frequency, right? Okay. What was the recent form 1s? 568. We're at 349. I don't think we're getting any higher than that. I don't care to. We want at least 2, no more than 3, looks like. So that's fine. We're at a good number. Recent form 3s. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. 2 would be the number, but 282, that's fine. Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. confusing myself. Recent form threes. Our percentage 221, 282, perfect. Max is 2. Awesome. Everything is lining up. Recent form fours. Total ownership 40.19. Recent form fours. 20. Yeah, it's not a very good bucket. 28.57 should be the max, but we see 65.85. So yeah, no, this is fine. This is not a good bucket whatsoever. Just shows I could even go less on some of these guys, like Grayson Murray, sure. Cam Percy, sure. Where are we at now? 35.19. Stadler, we'll go 1%. Watney, we can go 2%. Ryan Gay is okay. 2% on McGirt. There we go. We're at 28% now. Perfect. That's what I like to see. Wow, that can be a worse bucket. And then recent form sixes, 14.29%. Frequency rate, we're somehow project that 92 is not a correct number. So 14 is what we're looking at for recent form sixes. 14. And we are less than that. We're at 1%. So perfect. All things work out there. Now, what I like to typically do is kind of go backwards and look at some of these bigger ones like last week ones. You know, I was reading this wrong. I think 400% is the max that I would want to do because of the top 5 frequencies, but we could go over 400 if we wanted to. I don't think that's what we could do, you know, with last week ones. But we are at 411.90. So that is perfect. So that worked out well there. What are some other big numbers that we see? Probably last year 3s, last year 1s. Sure. So last year 1s, we are totaling 209. Last year 1, we want 217. Max of 3, so we could go to 300, but we'll stay there. And then last year 3s. Last year 3s, we're at 280.12. That is just a little bit over 248. We could go down a little bit. Max for top 5 frequencies is 2, but max for top 10 frequencies is 3. So I can give it a little bit of leeway. I do see King of Bradley pretty. So let's bump him down just a little bit. I'm sure most of you guys were like, yeah, you should have done that a long time ago. And actually, I'm going to add a little to Tony Finau. I am okay with doing that. Yeah, I think everything is okay. I mean, it pains me to put Carlos Ortiz down there. CT Pan probably shouldn't have that much. So I'm going to go ahead and put him to 6. Now we'll put him to 7. 7 is a threshold. It's a good one. Sink, that's fine. Homo, that's fine. Rose, probably want less of Rose. Cam Smith, I probably want less of also. And now we're at what? 273. Yeah, that didn't really change much, but that's fine. Let's see here. And then we already went through the course histories. We were good on everything. So obviously that took a little bit of time. Appreciate you if you're all the way here. Let's take a look at our top ownership guys. Just so you guys see who I am playing mostly of. Wow. I didn't realize I had 20% Aaron Wise. That must be because of that last week bucket one. Has to be, right? Let's take a look at hold on. Let's look at last week ones once again. 404 last week ones. We want under 4. But we could go over 4 because obviously, yeah, so 404 is fine. Do I want 20% of Aaron Wise? No. What I'm going to do is 16. That's a threshold. That's a break point. So 16 is good. 16 for him is good. 16 for him is good. I'm not doing more than that. I do like Chris Kirk, though. I'm just going to add 1. That's fine. Fowler, I can add a little bit more to. I'm okay with that. These guys can stay at 10% that are 6K. Yeah, no, this is good. We can keep it all right here. This looks fine. 396.90. Totally fine. So this will basically be the glue of our lineups for most of these. And I'm going to tell you right now, this isn't happening. Yeah, I don't want more than 2 Kevin Tways. I don't want more. I mean, yeah, JB can be in 2. I just realized like I don't want more than 2 from some of these guys. This will change some of the other numbers, and that's fine. I'm not too concerned about it. There we go. This looks good now. Now we're at 381.05. I can add more to these guys, and maybe I'm going to. Don't want, no. Okay. I think this is fine. It's a lot of Aaron Wise. It's a lot of heartbreak, too. I mean, I could still go back to, I could go back up to 24% for Keegan. I can drop him down a little bit. So I don't trust, and I don't like Brett. Maybe, sure. All right, so that's 394. We're leaving it there. That's fine. Okay, we're good. That's the ownership right there. I do want to pull up the optimizer. I want to show you what the number 1 optimized lineup is. I think it's already on the screen. No, it is not. Oh, because I put in my minimums. So Paul Casey, Tony Finau, Harris English, Sam Burns, He Who Shall Not Be Named, and Emiliano Grillo. I am taking him out. I do not want to see him. I'm cool with this lineup. Casey, Finau, English, Scott, Grillo, McNeely. Sign me up. This is a good lineup. All right, we're an hour 12 in. I think in retrospect, I'm not going to do that ownership thing again. I think what I'll end up doing is just giving you a rundown of what I ended up doing. I thought doing it on camera would be fine, but if I'm being honest, that wasn't at all how I had hoped it would have been. I don't know if I could have really gone faster through that, and I don't even know if you really meant to go faster through that. So I think I do want to add that because that is a good component. It'll show you guys who I'm on a little bit better. And I guess really, let's go ahead, show you the actual plays, like the looking at Time Pairings. Obviously, we're anchoring these, right? So what has the highest ownership for guys here? I think it's our 10K golfers, right? Like we kind of already know that. So we are owning this group here has a ton of ownership. Finau, Johnson, Koepka, Casey, and Watson, high there. Not very high with the Burns, Todd, Day group. Not very high with the DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Stuart Sink group. So this will be interesting to do a review on. Pretty high with the Cantlay, Leishman, and Garrick Higo. And obviously we forced Keegan Bradley to 24%. So probably if there are groups that I'm not going to be playing, it's probably this one, although I'm going to play some Bradley. DeChambeau, Reed, and Sink, maybe not. And then Burns, Todd, and Day, probably not. So my guys are right here. A lot of my anchor plays right there, minus Phil. So that was fun. Again, like I said, I don't think I'm going to do the ownership in person like that. I did want to show you how I did it. And like I said, in retrospect, it wasn't at all how I thought it was going to be. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you thought of it down in the comment section below. Should we skip it? Just type in skip for the comment section if you think we should skip it. If not, just write keep or whatever you want to. I think keep or skip would be just fine. With that being said, hopefully this enlightened you on some of the plays that I want to do or that I'm going to be playing this week. We'll see. I might tweak it a little bit. But either way, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the review video Sunday. All right, bye.